Hello, everybody.
Hey, hey.
Welcome to our what would this be? Our third no hype review,
Yeah, I think because we had a Yes Hype review where we actually watched Prey the opening weekend.
right? Yeah, and yeah, and everything, and then all our other reviews have been no hype, and this one is really no hype.
Yeah. Although, if we look up our friends, thenumbers.com, this movie is still being bought digitally and watched relentlessly. Yeah, it was the number. Top Gun Maverick was at the top of the watched at home chart for last weekend. So
Yeah, that does not surprise me at all.
I
Uh,
contributed to that.
yes, I did too. But yeah, we finally got around to watching Top Gun Maverick. Um, And of course, before we did though, we watched the original Top Gun.
Hmm.
I'd seen that movie before, but I hadn't I hadn't watched it in years. I would
Hmm.
say probably at least 15 or 16 years before. And watching it again, there was some things that I remembered, some things that I had forgotten about. Um, it is a quintessential 80s movie, I would say.
Yes, and I had never actually seen it before. Probably
Mm,
because my dad isn't a big Tom Cruise fan.
yeah.
With the whole Scientology and other things.
Yeah. My family aren't really high on him either, but it's in all with him, I try to separate the art from the artist, and
Yeah, because Tom Cruise has a certain je ne sais quoi about him that's just entertaining to watch. Like
yeah,
he's always playing himself, people say, but himself is fun to watch. I'm sorry.
yeah. He's a bit like Keanu Reeves,
Hmm.
in that the both of them are very good at picking roles
Hmm.
that they know that they'll be good for, and I think obviously with playing Maverick, he definitely a role that suits him very well. uh,
Yes.
uh, but um, but what did you think of the first movie? Well, I guess we should.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because minor spoiler alert. If you've seen Top Gun, you've kind of seen Top Gun Maverick to a big extent.
Yeah.
Even more so, like people go, "Oh, Star Wars: The Force Awakens is just the first Star Wars movie over again." Force Awakens has way more different about it than Top Gun Maverick has over Top Gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, like I actually really enjoyed myself. I wasn't expecting to. I watched it on a flight, which is the not the best conditions to watch a movie, but
Mhm.
I was thinking, okay, I'll just watch it for a bit, and I'll take breaks to do other things. I'll just over the course of the 6 hour flight, I'll get it taken care of. And except for a quick bathroom break, I just kept on going with it because it's just entertaining. It's just simple. It struck me how simple and straightforward it is.
Mhm.
It's basically guy guy becomes pilot or guy is a pilot. He helps somebody who has nerves land his plane. He does what he thinks is right, even when he's told not to. He
Mhm.
uh, he ends up going to this prestigious thing. Has a weird thing with Batman, Val Kilmer,
Yeah.
um, and rivalry. His friend dies. He has nerves. He overcomes his own nerves, saves the day.
Mhm. And has a fling with an instructor.
Yes. Um, the second movie follows a similar path as the first, and so we're going to give a kind of a non-spoiler thoughts on it.
Mhm.
Daniel, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Uh, Basically, the plot of the movie is Maverick is he's still in the Navy. He's a captain,
Hmm.
which in the other branches of the military, he's the equivalent of a full bird colonel. Uh, he's working as a test pilot,
Hmm.
and then uh, he's testing this new aircraft, and then but then he gets orders to go back to Top Gun, to go
Hmm.
back to the school where he was in the first movie, because there's a mission that they have to complete, and it's going to be a very hard mission to do. And so they bring in all the best pilots from all the previous Top Gun graduates to complete this mission.
Yep. And it's how to put it. It's it has all of the it has a lot of the same strengths and weaknesses as the first movie.
Hmm.
Like I think we can both agree that the love story is kind of tacked on in
Hmm.
both.
Yeah.
I would say it has slightly more point in the first movie than the second one. It's like it's just kind of fun. It's
Yeah.
nothing objectionable.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and then in the second one, I think, yeah, it definitely seemed a little more tacked on, but I would say it's. I mean, I think it was meant to kind of give him like what do I want to say, like a I hate to sound, I hate to use this cliche, but like a guiding light, something like
Hmm.
something along those lines.
Something to humanize him that isn't the mission,
Right.
because
Yeah.
you could see that being too overpowering if that was all that you had was the mission.
Right. Yeah, and obviously there's some, like with the first movie, there's a lot of interpersonal drama
Hmm.
um, between uh, between Maverick and one of the pilots,
Hmm.
um, who there's a relationship there that that was obviously very strained through the years, and then
Yeah, to put it
yeah,
mildly.
to put it mildly, yeah, and then of course you have all the other pilots that are in there as well. You've got uh, there was one character, one guy in there who I guess is supposed to be the new Iceman, the new Val Kilmer. Um,
He was in it way less than I was expecting, because that guy had
mhm.
some immediate charisma.
Yeah, yeah, he. Uh, I chalk his personality up to kind of like a quarterback for an NFL football team.
Hmm.
Just real cocky and arrogant. And then you had like the other pilots in there as well, like, and you actually had a female pilot
Hmm. Were
amongst
there
them.
two female pilots? I
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah, just the one. And what was great about it was they didn't make a big deal about it.
Yeah, like I was watching it and kind of like partway through, I said, "Huh, this cast is really diverse." And I didn't notice that up until just this exact moment.
Yeah, because because it wasn't a big deal. They didn't make a big deal out of it in the movie.
No, it was just like, oh, people from all walks of life, races, and genders coming together to achieve a goal. Neat.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I get this.
yeah.
Apparently, toy makers, or at least people who license movies, thinks that's like that's this is a conservative movie for some reason
Yeah, yeah, it's
because you've got that.
yeah, yeah. Um but yeah, it's I would say the movie this movie was I think I said this to you. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a few years now.
Definitely one of the best new movies I've seen.
Hmm.
Like the special effects. Actually, is it special effects when you actually have the Navy flying planes in real life? I guess in
Yeah.
the in technical sense, like that was impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it. And I remember watching an interview with Tom Cruise, and he said, he didn't want to do this movie unless they could do it practically.
Hmm.
Yeah, he did not want to have an overabundance of CGI,
Hmm.
and the fact that they are actually in fighter jets, the
Hmm.
the the actors are sitting in fighter jets and they're actually doing the maneuvers. Like,
Hmm.
holy cow!
Yeah, that was just impressive. Like,
Hmm.
you mentioned this a few weeks back, like that you regretted not seeing it in theaters, and I saw what you meant.
Yeah.
But so overall, before we get into a more spoilery discussion, if you have even the remotest interest in this movie, go watch it. If you don't, you're probably going to have a good time because it's a nice, straightforward story about interpersonal conflict getting resolved.
Yes. Yeah. I highly recommend it. Yeah. But yeah. So okay. So spoilers.
Yep, if you get spoiled and the movie is ruined for you, well, first off, you must not have watched the first movie because they're basically the same movie, like we said.
Yes.
Um, but you have been warned.
Yes. Yes. Thoroughly warned. All right. So so yeah. So I yeah, the whole plot of the movie where he, of course, when he's doing the test pilot thing and he's testing Mach 10 to
I
get
was
to
like,
Mach,
oh,
yeah.
we were only supposed to test Mach 9 today, but the drone ranger is coming to cancel our program. We got
Yeah.
to push Mach 10.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love that part where he just where his buddy's like, okay, it's Mach 10, not 10.1, not 10.2.
What does Maverick do?
He pushes it to what I think like 10.3.
Yeah, I think the airplane fell apart at 10.3.
Right, yeah. And I love that scene when he's walking, like he's in like whatever little town, out there, and
Yeah.
he's in his suit and he's walks in the little diner and he's like, I have water. He's like, where am I? And the little kid's like, Earth.
That was great. But and so let's talk about Maverick himself a little bit because
Okay, yeah.
that was something that really struck me was so you would kind of expect by the time he's if he's the same age as Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is has hit 60 or is near 60.
I think he's right at 60. Yeah.
You would expect by that point in someone's career, especially in the military, that they wouldn't be active pilots anymore.
Right. Yeah. And they kind of even talked about that in the movie where he's like, they're like, oh, captain, what? You're still a captain?
Yeah, like what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
C-
Because yeah.
Iceman's an admiral.
Yeah. Yeah. And in actuality, like for a lot of those guys, like they do hit a certain rank at a certain
Hmm.
age, and people in the military will actually be like, you know, you want to get out, you,
Yeah,
you want to, we'll give you your discharge papers, and you get your pension, just
go find life elsewhere.
yeah, um, yeah,
And what struck me is that in a worse handled movie, this would have been like Jake Skywalker levels of a character assassination.
oh yeah,
Because, at the end of the first movie, what does he do? He throws away Goose's, his dead friends. If for some reason you don't know who Goose is and you watched this far, I'm confused, but still, he
yeah,
throws away
yeah.
Goose's tags
Mhm,
to show that he's gotten over it. And he says that you shot down 3 MiGs. You can you can have any posting you like. And his answer was that he wanted to teach at Top Gun.
mhm,
This movie, we find out that he taught at Top Gun for 2 months before he flushed out.
mhm.
We find out that Goose's death, like I was really surprised to see that he had like a Goose photo shrine uh,
Yeah.
in his work area.
Mhm.
Like so, that's clearly not moved on. Eh,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the crux of the movie is that he can't seem to reach these kids. I can't reach these kids, says
Yeah.
Mr. Cartman is.
Yes.
but he can't seem to get the kids or these pilots to do their thing. And one of the pilots is Goose and Meg Ryan's kid, who hates him.
Hmm. Yeah, and you find out that he hates him because he kept him out of the Naval Academy.
Hmm. Because I think it was his mom made Tom promise, or Tom made Maverick promise.
Yeah,
Tom, it's
Tom. It's
basically,
yeah, one and the same. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, she made him promise. Yeah, because she didn't want him becoming a pilot, and
Hmm.
so he made him promise that that wouldn't happen, but it happened anyway.
Yep. Uh, by the way, I was a little bit disappointed when I found out that Meg Ryan's character was dead. Because I enjoyed her in the first movie, so like, oh, I haven't seen Meg Ryan in anything for a while, and I still won't.
And I still, yeah, yeah, but she wasn't in it that much. I don't think.
No, but she had like this energy in every scene she was with. Like you could feel the relationship between her and Goose.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and of course they had all that in there just to make his death more impactful, obviously.
Yeah, in retrospect, it was pretty much the oh, this is my, like they. I think they even did that with a character, like oh, this is my wife and kid from back home.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm gonna go see him soon. That's right. The guy who had the case of nerves, he had like the picture of his wife and baby on the dashboard after he got spooked after a MiG encounter that where they didn't really shoot anything.
right. Yeah. Well, but he had the MiG had a missile lock on him, and
Right. So
that freaked him out. Yeah.
right, like he almost he almost died there, and like I would have never seen my kid,
Mm,
but it's definitely like some intergenerational conflict going on here.
hmm.
Um, he has a relationship with a barkeep who has a grown daughter, so you get some like comedic moments there. My
Hmm.
favorite was like she's taking him on a sailboat, and he's kind of scared, like, "What? You're in the Navy? What's your problem? I don't get down this low," or something
Yeah.
like that.
He said, I don't. He said, I don't sail boats. I land on them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as far as the mission itself, it, I was getting some real Death Star run vibes off of it.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't pick up on it until I watched Critical Drinker's video on it, and he made the same comparison. I went, "Oh yeah."
Right, because basically you have to go down a narrow trench at high speed, then drop two bombs at precise down a tube at precise moments.
Right. Yeah. So it's almost exactly like the Death Star run.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, and like I mentioned before, like all the characters, were there some characters I wanted more of? Yes, I would have liked more of the new Iceman,
Yeah, Hangman.
Hangman. That's it.
Yeah, and he
Uh,
said, Why did they call him Hangman? Because he hangs you out to dry."
and I also it was kind of interesting to see Val in the movie. Um,
Hmm.
as an aged, very sick Iceman.
Yeah.
But by the way, was his wife played by the love interest of Tom Cruise's in the first movie? I almost thought that she
Uh,
was, but
no, no. Uh, I can honestly say, Kelly McGillis was the love interest in the first movie. She does not look like anything
see,
like that
okay, so
anymore.
this is like this is where I've said I don't necessarily pay attention to actors. I'm more into
Right.
characters and writing.
Yeah.
Um, like so she did a good job acting like she recognized Tom and had some sort of long-term relationship with him,
Yeah.
or that like she had known him for a long time. Because I
Hmm.
thought, did Iceman cuck Maverick? Because he would,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
those two love hated each other so much in the movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you do find out though that I mean, Iceman is basically looking out for had been looking out for Maverick for years.
Yeah, you basically get the impression that he would have been dumped completely
Hmm.
from the
Yeah.
military without him.
Yeah. And yeah, that and of course they had to work in Val Kilmer's real illness into Iceman.
Oh, I wasn't aware that it was a real illness. That's a shame.
Yeah, yeah. Val Kilmer had he had throat cancer.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's why, and in those scenes in the movie, like he was using
Mhm.
the computer to talk,
Uh,
and then and
okay,
yeah,
so I'm going to admit that I was thinking, man, Tom, or whoever's writing this script, I know that you kind of want to make Maverick look good, but that's kind of a mean thing to inflict on him. I didn't realize that was an actual disease
yeah,
he had.
yeah. If you have the stomach for it, or the fortitude for it, there is a documentary on Amazon with Val
Mm,
Kilmer about his life. If you can watch it, it's kind of it's a tough watch, but yeah, but yeah, that I thought that was, of course, I really like that at the end when they're talking, and Iceman asks him, "Okay, who's the better pilot?" He's like, "This is a really nice moment. Let's not ruin it."
yeah, it's a it's a very heartfelt movie, I would say.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it was I did not see this Chekhov's gun in advance because I was
Hmm.
like, oh, they've got some F-14s at this enemy military base. I was not expecting him and Goose's son to
Oh,
hijack one to fly away.
yeah, I wasn't expecting that either. Yeah,
No, I thought, oh, that's just a fun little detail. It's like I really should have seen that coming.
yeah. um, yeah, the final, that final scene in there was. I will say, like, we talked about the effects in the movie. The
Mhm.
practical effects are amazing,
Yeah,
and
it's just
and yeah, the jet flying and everything, unbelievable. There isn't much CGI in there. I think the missiles were CGI,
which makes
and
sense.
yeah, which makes you, well, yeah. Uh, and I will say, like, the when Maverick and Rooster get shot down, and they're out in the woods in that snowy wooded area, it did look like a little green screeny,
Yeah,
little rough.
but yeah, like again, it's a very simple plot, which actually was kind of refreshing because
Hmm.
you think about these like think about how overstuffed Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, and a lot of it not necessary.
Hmm. A lot of it distracted from the movie. And
Hmm.
again, they pulled off having like basically the thing that you realize about Maverick is that the only place he really belongs is in a fighter jet.
Hmm.
But that's why. So it's let's pull up the Luke Skywalker and Last Jedi comparison. He wasn't off on some island wanting to die because he failed. Is he is where he was meant to be the whole time.
Yes, yeah, and I think a lot of that was Tom Cruise,
Hmm.
because he obviously still has a lot of pull in Hollywood, and I'm
Especially
sure,
now.
especially now, yeah. Yeah, and so I'm sure when before they were making the movie, he said, "You do not, I don't know if he said this exactly. He's like, do not Jake Skywalker Maverick."
If not in those exact words, you know
Yeah.
that he had right of refusal on any sort of script that was sent his way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, and yeah, and of course the director on the movie, um, Joseph Kaczynski. He's no stranger to doing a sequel to an older movie. He directed Tron Legacy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This is the better movie of compared to Tron Legacy.
Yeah. um, but and then I think I remember seeing a little tribute to Tony Scott in there, because
Yeah, towards the end, I think.
yeah, because for those of you who don't know, Tony Scott directed the first one, and apparently, and then Bruckheimer. Jerry Bruckheimer produced it,
Hmm.
and he produced the first one too, which I haven't seen a Jerry Bruckheimer. He hadn't produced a movie before this in a long time, I don't think.
Isn't he the Pirates guy, or am I thinking of someone else?
Yeah, he's a
Uh,
Pirates guy. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I can't think of the last time I saw his name attached to anything.
Yeah, because I mean, for a while there, it was like everything was being produced by
Hmm.
him, movies, TV shows, and then lately, he just kind of faded off.
Hmm.
But it's good to see him working and doing a movie again.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, this uh, you there was a scene that you mentioned to me in uh, uh, when you were watching it when they kind of were trying to do a scene similar to when Maverick and Goose crashed,
Hmm.
and they had a similar scene in there with Coyote, one of the pilots,
Hmm.
where he blacks out.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and because part of the mission was that they had to climb up. After they dropped the bombs, they had to do this steep climb up this mountain.
Get like 10 G's, I think they were saying.
10 Gs, which is that's like you're close to blacking out.
Yeah,
And
like
yeah,
just get ideas like, sir, aren't F-18s only rated to 7.5 Gs? Yes, you'll be causing permanent damage to the airframe. Thank you.
yeah,
Next question.
yes, and so when they're doing that, Coyote blacks out, and then when that happens, when Maverick goes down to help him out. I'm sort of going, what the heck do you? What can you possibly do, Maverick? And then what he does is he puts a missile lock on him, and it gets the
A loud
warnings. Yeah,
ding.
yeah, wake up, buddy, wake up. And it eventually worked, and he wakes up and pulls up. But then, of course, Phoenix, they had a bird fly into her engine,
Yeah.
which, yeah,
Oof.
yeah, but thankfully nobody died. That was
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. The other thing that's really kind of funny to me in 20 to say about a movie in 2022, the first one was way gayer than this one. Mostly because okay, like I'd always heard that. I was like, okay, what are you possibly talking about? Like, no, the way that Val was going after Tom in that movie, in that first movie, was like, there's some subtext here. Like I don't think I don't think they were like actually into each other. It was, I think it was clearly Val just like, how can I express myself in a way that will make him uncomfortable and needle him? Aha!
Yes.
I'll act vaguely sexual.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that has been pointed out many times over the years.
Mhm.
And of course you had the volleyball scene, and then in the first movie, and then this movie you had a football scene.
Where I noticed in this one, everybody had their shirts on as though they were trying to make it less gay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No.
I just found that kind of amusing, like that the 80s movie had more of that than the new one.
Yeah, yeah. uh, but the other interesting thing too is they don't mention. Did they mention who the bad guys were in the first one? I mean, I guess you kind
No,
of.
it was like Migland, and there was something about that they had like some sort of base in the South or in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's kind of the same thing with this movie too, where it's like you don't know who the bad guys are, and I think in my head I've come up with headcanon is that these movies take place in an alternate universe,
Mhm.
and they got some like rogue nation that is really technologically advanced.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I think that I think that from a geography perspective, it might make sense to have it be Iran,
Hmm.
just because you could have them doing things in the South China or the South China in the Indian Ocean, like in the first movie, where
Yeah.
they have their little exchange with the MiGs,
Yeah.
and then I think there are mountains in Iran look that would look like that towards the
Yeah.
north. I think
Yeah. Yeah. I've also heard North Korea maybe.
that yeah, those would be two countries that it would make sense that you're trying to. Uh, stop their nuclear capabilities.
Yeah.
Although that does remind me of one thing, like one little criticism you could have. You never really see an enemy soldier. And it's like, huh, it's kind of weird that like we just had a big bombing run and there aren't enemy or there aren't like Megistan people running around trying to like repair things or put out fires
Yeah, yeah,
or anything like that. Nope. That F-14 is just right there, ready to go.
yeah. And they just kind of walk right up to it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I think that might have been like the fact that it's slightly implausible might have been why it never occurred to me that he'd end up in that plane again.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the other thing I was gonna say about that? Oh yeah, and like when they're flying up in there. Of course, they're in those the bad guys are in the fifth generation fighters, and
Hmm.
and they're trying to he's giving the signal like, hey, radio's down, and then the other pilots are giving him a bunch of hand signals. And he's like, what does that mean? I don't know. What
Yeah,
what about that one? No idea.
yeah, and they made it plausible enough that he was able to beat them because he kind of got the drop on them because they were
Hmm.
flying in formation with him, and then he
Yeah,
kind of backstabbed them.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so I think we've said what we need to say. Just because
Mhm.
this isn't an angry no hype review like when we did Doctor Strange.
Right. Yeah. This is
Uh,
actually this is a positive no hype review. Yeah.
yes, it's there's a reason that this movie is probably going to be the highest grossing of the year, unless
Hmm.
Avatar really surprises us.
I don't think it will, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll
Yeah.
be fun to watch on the regular show.
Yes.
But I'm glad. I think this was your idea. I'm very glad you had it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When I saw that when they finally dropped on Blu-ray and 4K, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna pick up a copy of it,
Hmm.
and then I'm like, okay, well, I might as well watch it, and I'm like, oh wow. And I will say too, most of the movies I've watched recently, like I will occasionally stop to look at my phone. I didn't
Hmm.
do that once with this movie.
I admit I did, but part of that was just because I wanted to talk with you about what I was like as I was watching it.
Uh,
So it's almost more like a shared experience thing more than anything else.
yeah, yeah,
Also, I think people were trying to get my attention while we were or while I was watching it.
yeah. Okay. Well, well,
Like it
I
was an
will,
engrossing film. I have bad
yeah,
habits. I get
yeah. Yeah. I will give you a pass on all that.
yes.
Yeah, but okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put this movie?
So as far as the movie wanting to be what it wanted to be, 10 out of 10. Like
Hmm.
it had an objective, uh, basically it was we want to give people who grew up on the first movie a taste of that sweet sweet stuff
Hmm.
and let them like just escape for a little bit
Yeah.
and just feel good at the end of it. Which most of the movies I end up watching, like it feels like they're supposed to be vaguely miserable. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
so, I enjoyed that. Um, on like an objective level, I might put it at like an 8 out of 10, just because there are a few tacked on bits. You could take some criticism of, okay, could they really have gotten to that F-14 so easily?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would give it. I put it a little higher. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 or 9. Like it's like very few things are true 10 out of 10s. So that
Hmm.
I have no problem with anybody. I'd have problem with people trashing the movie because it seems like to be the only reason you would trash it is if you had no fun in your heart.
Yeah. or you hated the military or
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Hmm.
Thank you to anyone who will be watching this video. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe and the subscribe button, ring the bell, and comment down below because
Also,
comments. Yeah.
go buy a copy of Guardian Angel.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I,
Pick
I
up a.
still keep wanting to say Angel's Awakening because I'm so used to talking about that one.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do that too. But yeah, pick up Guardian Angel. Yeah, campaign is going right now, but yeah, we will see you when we see you later.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yep, happy Thanksgiving.